Hi and welcome to my video. My name is Bryndís and this is my booktube channel. Today I want to do a book review. I'm actually really enjoying doing these little book reviews that I'm posting on Mondays, but today I want to talk about one of my favorite books for 2023. It was in the top 5 of my books of last year. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars and I cannot stop to talk about it. I cannot stop talking about it and raving about it. And it is The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. This book was published in 2020 and the author, Janice Hadlow, she's actually an historian, and she's worked in for the BBC and in media for a long time. But she is an historian, and she actually wrote a biography of King George III, and it's called A Royal Experiment: The Private Life of King George III. So it's about him, his wife, Queen Charlotte, and kind of their family and experience. I actually read this book a couple of years ago, and I just recently realized that it's the same author, because I hadn't realized that initially. But yeah, that book, the biography, was very well received by critics and got plenty of awards and stuff like that. And I would definitely recommend you read that if you're interested in the Regency era or period, and George III and Charlotte and all of the things regarding them. Yeah, it's a very good non-fiction historical book. Tells you a lot of interesting things. But we are here not to talk about King George III, but The Other Bennet Sister. The Other Bennet Sister. So this book takes place in the Regency period in England, which is, early 19th century. It takes place in the 1810s. It follows the events of from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which took place in, I think, 1811, 1812. Somewhere around there. So the story of this book follows Mary Bennet. She is the middle sister of a brood of 5 Bennet sisters. So she's number 3. And so first I want to say, before I actually start to talk about this book, so this is in some ways a Pride and Prejudice retelling. So if you have not read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, firstly, what are you doing with your life? Seriously. And secondly, I think it would be a good idea to actually read that book first and then come to this one, because I think that will give this book an even more punch, so to speak, more depth, because I just think that it tells you, you get the experience and the story mostly from Lizzie's point of view. She is the second oldest sister, and it's a really fun story, and yeah. So definitely go read that first if you haven't, before you read this one. I think it will give some little bit more context. I mean, I think you could definitely read this book without reading Pride and Prejudice, but it just feels like it would be more helpful to have that background for sure. Yeah, so anyway, Mary Bennet is the third of the 5 Bennet sisters. Very much cliched, ignored, and overlooked middle child for sure. And the poor thing, she does not have a very easy life in Pride and Prejudice, and yeah, I think this book really does give us her story, and it is just absolutely excellent and a very important story to tell as well. So this quote, which is for sure inspired by Jane Austen's book, is on the blurb for the Other Bennet Sister, and I have to read it here. So it reads as follows. It is a sad fact of life that if a young woman is unlucky enough to come into the world without expectations, hence money, she had better do all she can do to ensure she is born beautiful. To be handsome and poor is misfortune enough, but to be both plain and penniless is a hard fate indeed. Yeah, so Mary was fated to be plain in a brood of sisters that were beautiful. Or even if they, not all of them necessarily like radiated beauty, they had very strong personalities, which kind of made people not notice if they weren't the most beautiful. But I think all the other four sisters were handsome for sure. But Mary was not, according to her mother and society at the time, apparently, in Pride and Prejudice. And she also, poor thing, needed to use glasses, which was the worst thing ever, and made her ugly, apparently. So anyway, Mary suffered so much because of it. And I would say those borderline abuse, or even not even borderline, psychological abuse by her mother, because she wasn't beautiful. But let's go into the book. I'm really gonna try not to include spoilers, but I get carried away and I don't notice, so I can't guarantee that I won't say something that might spoil the book for you. So you have been warned. You can't complain if you continue with the video and then you're like, damn it, Brintis, you spoiled the book. You have been warned. The first part of the book is basically a retelling of Pride and Prejudice from Mary's point of view. And then we kind of follow Mary's life going forth. So I am a huge fan of Pride and Prejudice. It's not my favorite Jane Austen. It's my second favorite Jane Austen. But there's also, I think, elements of Sense and Sensibility, which is my favorite Jane Austen, in this book for sure. And I mean, I love Jane Austen. I love her books. I reread them constantly. The BBC miniseries here is like my comfort watch. It's like my little blankie watch. I love it so much. I mean, you know, Mr. Darcy. It's such a great great series for sure. And anyway, so when I heard about this book, I was obviously just hooked from the get-go. Like, seriously, what a great idea. Because I've always been curious about Mary and her her experiences, and I felt like seriously sad sometimes of the way she was treated in Pride and Prejudice, and kind of being dismissed by everybody because she wasn't beautiful. And obviously she was trying so hard to like be noticed and to be like to please other people, but she was very awkward socially, and you know, didn't really read the situation always correctly. And I don't know, I often identify with Mary, having been like a super shy and awkward teenager myself. So I kind of felt like, you know, I'm also a middle child. Just saying. So anyway, I was very excited to start to read it or listen. I listened to it as an audiobook, and it did not did not disappoint. I loved it. And this book made me cry so hard. Oh my God. I sobbed reading, like listening to the depictions of Mary's experiences with her mother, with her sisters. You know, Mr. Darcy was there and Mr. Whoever, and Lizzie was there, and I don't wanna, I'm trying not to spoil, but yeah, it just made me cry so hard. It was but it was like in a good way. I like it when books make me cry, because that means that they are really touching my heart and like the emotions, which is the main thing that I really enjoy about books, that where they really touch, like go to your core. That's a good book in my opinion. So if you don't like books that make you cry, then this is not the book for you for sure. But anyway, yeah, so the first part of the book, like I said, is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice from Mary's point of view, and I think it's a really good retelling. And to be honest, I really don't necessarily think that, no, I think I know that I won't be able to read Pride and Prejudice the same again. Like, it hasn't spoiled that for me, for sure, but I feel that it's like added some depth to it in a way, and I didn't really know that I needed that until like now I know that I have it. I'm so happy. Like, I think it complements the world of Pride and Prejudice very well. And then in the second part of the book, we have Mary's story, like how she makes it in the world after her sisters, at least 3 of her sisters. I'm not sure about, yeah, at least 3 of her sisters are married. You know, they're living their best lives, whatever, having babies and stuff like that, you know, as they do. But like, what is Mary to do? Is she, be like a spinster who just stays at home, takes care of her mother in her old age, like the mother who doesn't even like Mary? Or does she become like a governess, which was not considered a very respectable thing for a young lady? So it really is the story of this young woman who is just intellectually gifted. She's quite smart, and like she likes to read and think about things. She wants to use her mind, but kind of stuck in this society that basically just values women when, like, on the basis of how they look. You know, it's nice that they can sing beautifully, but basically you have to be beautiful. That's like the main thing that a woman needs to be is beautiful in this era. So yeah, it's really interesting to follow Mary and like her journey in the book. In the second part of the book, there is like a romance plot, and I think it's done really well, because like it is definitely a big part of the plot for sure, but I feel like the main part is Mary's journey to kind of discover who she is, her self-worth, her value as a woman and as a human being. And so the romance sometimes takes a back seat and sometimes comes to the forefront. But I don't know, it's really done in such a way that it's just kind of feels very natural. The romance plot feels very natural. And I mean, it's a romance, historical romance, and some parts of the plot are quite predictable. Romances, they have certain endings and stuff like that. So, otherwise it wouldn't be a romance. But I don't know. I think it's just done very well. And Mary, she just becomes this really lovable character. And I really had so much pleasure in following her journey, getting to really know her. And I feel that Hadlow makes Mary into this really interesting and kind of multi-dimensional character. I mean, some of the other characters are maybe not as well developed. It's not a perfect book. Like, there are definitely some things in the book that maybe are not perfect, but overall it is such a joy to read that I just, like, for me, there was no question that it was a 5-star read, even if it is not perfect. I don't think 5-star reads necessarily need to be perfect to be 5 stars, but yeah, I cannot wait to read this book again. I've been looking for a hard copy, like a physical copy of the book, because I would really like to read it like that next time I read it. But still, the audiobook is also fantastic, and I don't know, it's really great, a great story, and I 100% recommend it, especially if you are a Pride and Prejudice fan or Jane Austen fan. And yeah, excellent book. So there's that, my review of The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. I hope you enjoyed, and I would love to hear from you in the comments below if you've read the book, if you agree or disagree, or if you're at all interested in reading this book. I 100% recommend that you do, but let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!